Hey guys! Today we're going to talk about the Lunar series, one of the most beloved and memorable JRPG franchises of all time. And God, what a mess this turned out to be. What happened to Lunar is a complete disaster. Hey, did you know that lunar means mole in Spanish? Yeah, it's pronounced lunar. All of those things, all those little spots we've got on our skin, yeah. What a great piece of information, right? Oh, screw this, let's begin. Game Arts. That's the name everybody thinks of when we speak of franchises like Grandia, I already made a video about that one, and Lunar. What happened to Grandia is somehow linked to what happened to Lunar, but with this franchise there's a whole lot more most people don't know. It wasn't developed only by Game Arts, nope. It was conceived and created by Kazunari Tomi, a former employee of now popular company Nihon Falcom. After leaving this company, he founded Studio Alex. Is the name familiar? It's the same name that the protagonist of the first Lunar game has. However, the studio was just too small and it needed help to create their own game, so they associated with Game Arts, and one of its founders, Takeshi Miyagi, helped design the series. The first game was released in 1992 for the Mega CD, although this particular add-on console was known in North America as the Sega CD. So 1 year and a half later, on December 1993, the success of Lunar the Silver Star reached North America, also for the Sega CD. Okay, not for the Genesis or the SNES, nope, Sega CD, man! The game told the story of Alex, a young boy who wants to become a hero. A certain incident in the game leads Alex and his friends to help him become this hero and save the world. It was a commercial success. So successful that it immediately became a cult classic, forcing the publishing company, also Game Arts, to rethink the game and contemplate a brighter future. This is the reason why the Silver Star was ported and remade for many different consoles, but we'll get to that in a while. Since this first title had been essentially successful, both companies developed and released a sequel called Eternal Blue, also for the Sega CD, on December 1994. Almost 1 year later, Working Designs, who had also localized the first game to North America, brought it here as well. This was the game that truly exploited the Sega CD's hardware, and it now had a longer story and larger gameplay. It takes place 1,000 years after the Silver Star, and it's now focused on Hero, a young explorer who one day meets Lucia to then travel together to stop an evil force. Despite being overly successful as well in both regions of the world, this one didn't sell as many copies as the first one had done. In my opinion, this always happens, not only in video games but in almost any story-driven form of art. The sequel is almost never as successful as the first one. But the important thing here is that Eternal Blue had been highly acclaimed, giving also Working Designs a boom in their careers to keep localizing games to the West. The third game in the series was now a spin-off. It was called Lunar Sanposuru Gakuen, translated as Lunar Walking School. This was released in January 1996 for the Game Gear, only in Japan. You now played as a girl called Ellie, taking hundreds of years before the first Lunar. So okay, this was a prequel, and it looked nothing like a Lunar game, especially in the battle system. It was a simple RPG with barely anything to stand out, which was fan-translated in 2009 to English. So the teams decided to port it to another console, later thinking the whole game could be remade into a much better experience. It was then released for the Sega Saturn in 1997, and wow, that's what I call a remake. It looks very different from the original one. now being called Magic School Lunar. Awesome! But guess what? This version was also not released outside Japan. And this is where everything started going downhill. But first let's talk about ports and remakes, where the real worldwide success began. In 1996, Game Arts ported the Silver Star to the Sega Saturn as well. This was before Magic School Lunar. It was an enhanced remake, then it went to some variations for a newer version in 1997, also for the Sega Saturn. Neither version made it outside Japan, of course, until Game Arts ported them to the PlayStation. And that's where Working Designs, once again, saved the day, localizing not only this remake, but also the one for Eternal Blue, which had gone through pretty much the same situations. This was in 1999, and both remakes were never released in Europe. Now, Eternal Blue's fate went to a halt there and stayed as an all-time classic RPG. But the Silver Star's fortune was way bigger than that. It was once again remade for the Game Boy Advance in 2001. Game Arts had nothing to do with this. It was made by Media Rings Corporation and published and translated in North America by Ubisoft. And yet another remake of this game occurred in 2010, this time worldwide for the PSP, called Silver Star Harmony, with Game Arts behind it as well as publishing it on Europe and Australia, thankfully, and now published by Exceed Games in North America. Then it was remade for EOS in 2012. Wow, the success of this game, huh? Let's go back to the main topic of this video. Let's find out what the hell happened to something so extremely successful as Lunar. Well, we first have to talk about, once again, Takeshi Miyagi, resting in peace since 2011 by the way. He was the co-founder of Game Arts, but left the company in 2000 to create his own. Since he had been one of the lead designers of the Lunar series, this obviously hurt Studio Alex deeply. But nonetheless, they continued on for a while until finally breaking the bonds with Game Arts and suing them for the rights of the Silver Star and its never-ending remakes. You see, their names was literally removed from all marketing over the Sega Saturn and PlayStation releases, so in 2003 they filed the lawsuit. Only to lose miserably when Game Arts counterattacked and sued them as well for damages in regard to issues over the Magic School Lunar animations. So Studio Alex lost, and not only that, they went bankrupt. But they knew, deep inside, that Game Arts could never develop a new Lunar game without them and Takeshi's help. But several companies wouldn't allow this to happen. They wouldn't let the Lunar series die just yet. So they all decided to trust Japan Art Media, a team that had previously worked on the Silver Star remakes for the PS1 and the Game Boy Advance, with the fate of the series, only to ruin it completely. Lunar Genesis, known in North America as Dragon Song, was released in 2005 for the Nintendo DS, with Ubisoft being in charge of publishing it in North America. This game was an absolute failure. It is considered by many people, including me, as one of the worst RPGs of all time. This game not only insulted the Lunar franchise, but it also killed it. It takes place 1000 years before the Silver Star, making it as the absolute prequel. It kinda looked like a Lunar game, but it played nothing like it. It also included elements that pretty much destroyed the experience, like losing health while running, and being unable to target specific enemies in combat. I mean, what the heck did they expect? Studio Alex was gone, Game Arts was gone, Japan Art Media only had experience with remakes. Did they really think they would be able to simply pull it off and be successful? Alas, this marked the end of the Lunar series. A franchise that will be forever remembered as a pioneer in the RPG genre, highly influential in the history of gaming, and with two classic titles that are notoriously treasured, with physical copies being frequently sought after. So thank you Game Arts and Studio Alex for for giving us two great pieces of history here. And even though we may not understand or even care what happened to Japan art media and everyone else involved in this giant failure, at least today we learned what the hell happened to Lunar. So that's it, guys. That's what happened to Lunar. Sometimes it's not only one game that ruined the entire franchise. You know, as you saw, there's a lot of background we need to take into consideration on when judging what the hell happened to Lunar. And well, I didn't include certain little pieces of information. I didn't talk about one thing called all the hyper applications, all the Lunar hyper applications, which was something that was released for Windows 95 and 98. And it includes certain Windows applications, wallpapers, artwork and all that jazz, and a mini game, card-based mini game on the first two Lunar games. I thought it was irrelevant and it was only released outside Japan. But anyways, this is the kind of information that I want you guys to talk about. Anything that I missed, anything that I may have missed, and etc. Please help me with that and continue to grow as a community for this awesome channel that is here thanks to all of you guys. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and share this video with your friends. See you next time.